Hello. How's it going? I'm going to continue reading some more of this book. This is part 1, The Hare and the Bean, by Tom Robbins, Jitterbug Perfume. I got a microphone on me right here. Hopefully it picks it up. Alright, so here we go. The citadel was dark, and the heroes were sleeping. When they breathed, it sounded as if they were testing the air for dragon smoke. On their sofas of spice and feathers, the concubines also slept fretfully. In those days, the earth was still flat. The people dreamed often of falling over edges. Blacksmiths hammered the edge serpent on the anvils of their closed eyelids. Wheelwrights rolled it, tail in mouth, down the cart roads of their slumber. Cooks roasted in dream pits. Seamstresses sewed it into badger hides and covered them. The court necromancer traced its contours in the constellation of straw on which he tossed. Only the babes in the nursery lay peacefully, passive, even to the fleas that supped on their tenderness. King Abbar did not sleep at all. He was as awake as the guards at the gate. More awake, actually, for the guards mused dreamily about mead, boiled beets, and captive women as their eyes patrolled the forest horizon, while the king was as conscious as an unsheathed knife, coldly conscious and warmly troubled. Beside him, inside the ermine blankets, his great hound, Meek, and his wife, Alma, snoozed the night away. Obvious to their lord's distress. Well, let them snore, for neither the dog's tongue nor the wife's could lap the furrows from his brow, although he had sent for Alma that evening mainly because of her tongue. Alma's mouth, freshly outlined with beet paint, was capable of locking him in a carnal embrace that, while it endured forbade any thought of the coils beyond the brink. Alas, it could endure for so long, and so sooner was Alma hiccuping the mushroom scent of his spurt than he was regretting his choice. He should have summoned Wren, his favorite wife, for though Wren lacked Alma's special sexual skills, she knew his heart. He could confide in Wren without fear that his disclosures would be woven into common gossip on the concubines' looms. Abbar's castle, which in fact was a simple fort of stone and wood, surrounded by a fence of tree trunks, contained treasures, not the least of which was a slab of polished glass that had come all the way from Egypt to show the king his face. The concubines adored this magic glass, and Abbar, whose face was so obscured by whiskers that its reflection offered a minimum of contemplation reward, he was content to leave it in their quarters, where they would spend hours each day gazing at the wonders that it reproduced. Once a very strong young concubine named Frol had dropped the mirror, breaking off a corner of it. The council had wanted to banish her into the forest, where wolves or warriors from the neighboring domain might suck her bones, but Abbar had intervened, limiting her punishment to 30 lashes. Later, when her wounds healed, she bore him fine twin sons. From that time on, however, the king visited the harem each new moon to make certain that the looking glass had not lost its abilities. Now on this day, the new moon of the calendar part we know as September, when Abbar conducted his routine inspection, he looked into the mirror longer, more intently than usual. Something in the secrets and shadows of the imperfectly polished surface had caught his eye. He stared, and as he stared, his pulse began to run away with himself. He carried the glass to an open window where refracting sparks of sunshine enlivened its ground by refused to alter its message. So soon, he whispered, as he tilted the mirror. Another angle, the same result. Perhaps the glass is tricking me, he thought. Magic things are found in deceptions. Although the day was rather balmy, he pulled up the hood of his rough linen cloak and, blushing like Blood's rich uncle, thrust the mirror into the hands of the nearest concubine, who happened to be Frau. The other woman gasped. They rushed to relieve her of the precious object. Abbar left the room. With some difficulty, for others tried to insist on accompanying him, the king excused himself from court and took a giant dog, Meek, for a romp around outside the citadel gates. Curiously, he made a way into the woods to sing to a spring he knew. Not to sing, he was going to a spring. I lost my spot. Oh, here we go. There he fell to his knees and bent close to the water, as if to drink. Smothered under a swirl of cloudy mixtures, his reflection only spasmodically came into focus. Yet among the bubbles, twigs, and jumbled particles of light and color, he saw it once more, a hair as white as the snow that a swan had flown over. It spiraled from his right temple, undirected and unencumbered by thought. King Abbar's hand shoot out as if to ward off an enemy blow. He yanked the hair from its mooring, examined it as one might examine a killed snake, and after glancing over his shoulder to assure that none save Meek was his witness, flicked it into the spring, in whose waters it twisted and twirled for a long while before sinking out of sight. Interesting. Alma gnashed her semen-greased teeth in her sleep. Each distant owl note caused Meek to twitch between them. Abbar lay wide-eyed. His war-marked hands caressed the fur covers for comfort. It is with shame and fear that I rest tonight, thought the king. The way bewilderment lies upon me. I have no need for a blanket. In Abbar's kingdom, a minute city-state, a tribe, if you will, it was the custom to put the king to death at the first sign of old age. Kings were permitted to rule only so long as they retained their strength and vigor, regarding its rulers and semi-divine god-men upon whom the course of nature depended. The clan believed widespread catastrophes would result from the gradual enfeeblement of the ruler and the final extinction of his powers in death. The only way to avert those calamities was to kill the king as soon as he showed symptoms of decay, so that his soul might be transferred to a vigorous young successor before it had been impaired. One of the final signals of fading power was the king's incapacity to satisfy the sexual passions of his wives. Another was the debut of wrinkles or gray hairs, with their indiscreet announcements of decline. Heretofore, Abbar had not considered this tradition unfair. After all, were the king allowed to grow senile and ill, would not his weakness infect his domain, interfering with the multiplication of cattle, causing beet crops to rot in the fields, disabling the men in battle, and generally perpetuating disease, delirium, and infertility among those whom he ruled? And did not all intelligent peoples, with left out the Romans, hold this to be true? Why, in some nearby kingdoms, a slight blemish on the royal blood, such as the loss of a tooth, was enough to bring about the death sentence. In Abbar city, the execution was a ceremony of much dignity and aesthetic weight, the king's number one wife bearing the responsibility for delivering to her husband's lips the poisoned egg. Ew, give him a poisoned egg? It's gross. Among less civilized peoples in the region, the ruler was dispatched by the crude, though perfectly sufficient process of being knocked on the head. They just knocked him out. Heretofore, the ritual of putting... What? Heretofore? What is it? What's heretofore? So anyways, I think that's what that means. Heretofore. So anyways, the ritual of putting the king to death had seemed to Abbar's natural, inevitable, and just. But tonight, Tonight he cursed that cruelly traitorous strand, that hoary banderole of morality that waved so thoughtlessly from the otherwise dark temple, that skinny silver scroll upon which was written in letters bold enough for all of nature to read, an invitation to the burial mound. Oh, most unwelcome air. From the lemony southern islands, there's lemony, from the lemony southern islands to the mountainous haunts of the trolls, there was no honest person who could call King Abbar a coward. That's good. Numerous times he had risked his life in combat, exhilarated the cry of his charge, and why not? What was there in death to fear? Death was this world's tribute and the other world's bequest. To shun it was to cheat both sides in yanking out the gray hair. He felt that he had betrayed his people, his gods, himself. What did that mean? Abbar pounded the pillow with his head, causing Meek to growl softly and Alma to flail with both arms. Although he did not surface from the sea without fish. Although she did not surface from that sea without fish. At first light, ere a rooster had reached the doodle part of his cock-a-doodle-doo, Abbar shook Alma awake, ordering her back to the harem and requesting that she send Wren in here instead. What are you grinning at, my lord? I am merely happy to notice that you have regained your appetite. What are you insinuating, woman? Nothing, my lord. What? He seized her by her yellow braids. Don't be angry, sir. It's just that some of your wives grumble among themselves that you haven't neglected them of late. The king released her. Automatically, he raised his fist to the temple where the white hair had sprouted. Were another about to emerge, he would have squished it in its follicle. Have they spoken of this to the council? Oh, no, my lord. It has not come to that. To tell the truth, I think they are merely peevish because you spend your best seed in that clumsy little cunt Frawl. In the depths of his tangled beard, Abbar managed half a smile. Young Frawl was pregnant again, and from the size of her belly, there developed herein a second set of twins. Kissing had yet to be discovered in Europe. Alas, so Abbar rubbed Alma's nose with his own. My balls are so heavy I cannot leave the bed. Quickly, now, fetch me Wren. As soon as she had gone, he arose and forced open the massive oak window. While Meek licked his feet, he uttered a succession of prayers to the rapidly diminishing sparkle of the morning air. Meek is his dog, if you haven't caught that part. Meek is a dog, spelled M-I-K. All right, so that's the. I think I'm going to take a break there. That's a couple pages into the first chapter. I'm going to take a little break there, and we'll be back again with another part so-and-so and such and such. So stay tuned for more.